How to Stay Invisible. Chapter 19. On Monday morning, Raymond checked his cubby. He pulled out a pink flyer advertising that on the first Friday in February, the school would be hosting the semi-formal dance. He tucked his books in his bag and threw the flyer in the trash. It seemed the whole school was completely absorbed with talk of the semi-formal. Even the teachers seemed excited. Raymond couldn't understand for the life of him why anyone would want to go to a dance. "You going to the dance?" Harlan asked him that afternoon. "I doubt it," said Raymond. Going to a dance was about the last thing he wanted to do. Besides, he didn't have anything to wear even if he wanted to go. "Might be fun," Harlan said, and his ears reddened. Raymond couldn't help himself. "Maybe you could ask that girl from the jamboree to go with you, Lexi's friend. What was her name?" Harlan's complexion turned from pink to bright red at the suggestion, and he shook his head. "Come on," said Raymond, grinning. "Couldn't hurt to ask." "No, a girl like that would never go to a dance with the likes of me," said Harlan. "Maybe you could ask Lexi." Now it was Raymond's turn to blush. Harlan thumbed the colored pencils on the table. After a minute, he sighed and picked up a red pencil. "I probably won't go either. Was a dumb idea." Harlan didn't mention the dance again, but Raymond knew he was still thinking about it as he sketched the flower vase in the middle of the table. The science project was almost finished. That afternoon in the library, Lexi used fancy lettering to sketch out their project title, and Miss Amber let them print their work to paste to the display board. All that was left was to record the final results. "Oh, and I can't meet tomorrow or Wednesday," Lexi said as she packed up her things for the day. "I'm trying out for the cross-country team." "I didn't know you were a runner," said Raymond. "I'm not," she laughed. "My parents think it will look good on my college application if I play a sport. I figure, how hard can it be to run?" "I guess you'll find out." He liked how easy it was to talk to Lexi. "I can take notes and type up the results while you're at tryouts," he said, "and that will leave us Thursday to finalize it all." Friday was a teacher workday, and the school would be closed Monday for the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. Most students were happy about the long weekend, except for Raymond. That was one more day he would have to feed himself. The temperature that week was almost bearable. Raymond slept through the night without shivering, and he was more than happy about it. His body didn't ache like it usually did, and his whole attitude improved. He knew it would inevitably get cold again, but he was enjoying the not quite freezing temperatures while they lasted. The creek water was still ice cold, but he found a way to clean himself efficiently without freezing to death. He had managed to pocket a half-used bar of soap from the boys' locker room and used Stiggs's milk jug basket to collect water from the creek. Then he warmed the water in the jug the same way that he warmed his sleeping bag at night, pulling heated river stones from the fire with his newly whittled tongs and dropping them in the water. Raymond checked the teeth and took notes while Lexi tried out for cross country. And on Thursday, Lexi told Raymond that she had made the team. "That's great," Raymond said, trying to keep his voice down in the library. "Not really," she said. "We have to practice practically every day, so I won't be able to meet you after school for a while." Raymond felt his chest swell. He had assumed that once the project was over, they wouldn't be meeting after school anymore anyway. He was very pleased to hear that Lexi still wanted to. Just before 4:30, Mrs. Bradshaw showed up to let Lexi know her mom was ready. She and Raymond said their goodbyes, and he stowed the display board and the containers in the closet. Raymond had never participated in a science fair before, so he wasn't totally sure, but their project was a winner in his eyes. "How are you doing, Raymond?" Miss Amber asked when he got to the checkout counter. "Are you liking it at River Mill?" Mrs. Bradshaw adjusted her hair and leaned on the counter, waiting for Miss Amber to finish and ignoring Raymond completely. "Yes, ma'am," he said. "I like it a lot." "How are your classes? Are you keeping up with the work? You are in Miss Marcus's advanced English class, aren't you?" "They're good," he said. "And yes, ma'am, she's a good teacher." "I'm so glad to hear that," said Miss Amber. "Are you checking something out today?" "I think so. Do you have any books about hunting and trapping?" Raymond asked, trying to sound casual. Miss Amber walked Raymond to a shelf on the other side of the library. "That's a pretty popular topic, actually. You should find some good options over here in the nonfiction section. But look quickly, the library is closing soon." "Yes, ma'am. Thank you," he said. Raymond began thumbing through the books on the shelf. Then he decided that he might like to read something a bit more upbeat. He headed over to a section marked Survival Stories. He selected a book and went to check it out. "Did you find something, dear?" Miss Amber asked. Raymond nodded and set the copy of Hatchet on the desk. Miss Amber checked it out and handed the book to Raymond. "Enjoy the long weekend," she said. He tucked the book into his bag and left the library. When he made it to the side door, he glanced down the hall. Miss Marcus's light was still on in her classroom. Raymond considered stopping in to say hello, but thought better of it. He pushed the door open and quietly slipped around the back of the school and into the woods. Back at the hollow, an eager Rosie sniffed at Raymond's pockets. He had forgotten to save some of his breakfast and lunch. He checked the back of the hollow. It was nearly empty, except for a brown banana and a half-eaten Pop-Tart, which he offered to Rosie, and she grudgingly ate. He had been so preoccupied this week with Lexi and the science project that he had let his food stores totally deplete. He checked his trap and found it set off, but empty. It was too late in the day to go fishing, and that wasn't a guarantee anyway. Once it got dark, he headed back in the direction of the school to check the dumpsters. It was Thursday, and he knew by now that the trash trucks came on Tuesday and Thursday mornings, so anything he found would still be fresh from the day. From the edge of the baseball field, he could see Miss Marcus's classroom still lit up. Her car was parked in a side lot, so Raymond thought he would be in the clear at the dumpsters on the other side of the school. He continued around the back of the school and waited just inside the tree line for a few minutes to be sure nobody else had stayed late. All was quiet and dark, aside from the overhead light in the front parking lot. Raymond could hear it buzzing as it blinked on and off. He darted for the dumpster and heaved the top open and pulled himself in. They had served macaroni that day, and Raymond gagged as he flung leftover noodles from his hands. He found an unopened bag of potato chips and a half a loaf of white bread. The outside was coated with pasta, but the inside appeared unscathed. He wiped the bread bag off as best he could and closed the trash bag. He lifted himself out of the dumpster and tried to land softly on the gravel below. He shut the lid. He peered around the corner of the school before darting back into the woods. When he made it to the baseball field under the cover of trees, he checked the school again. Miss Marcus's light was off, and her car was no longer in the side lot. Feeling nervous, he ran back to the hollow as fast as he could. It rained all of Thursday night and into Friday. Raymond stayed in the hollow with Rosie, eating potato chips and reading. He had widened the lean-to recently to include a sheltered spot for Hank. But by Friday night, even Hank was restless, and he trotted out of the camp in the pouring rain. Raymond was starving by Saturday morning after only eating potato chip sandwiches the day before. Thankful for clear skies, he got to the river early and had already caught 2 fish when Stiggs showed up. Rosie had been up early too, wrestling with Hank in the sunshine, and wasn't interested in joining Raymond this morning. "Where's our girl?" Stiggs asked, sitting down next to Raymond. "Nice to see you too," Raymond joked. "She was feeling lazy today." Stiggs was staring at Raymond, and there was something about his look that made Raymond feel nervous. Stiggs sighed. "Listen, Raymond, I went by the Department of Social Services and Commerce this week." Raymond nearly fell off the log. "You did what?" he asked, jumping to his feet. "Now don't panic, kid. I needed to know that you were all right. You haven't been honest with me, and I know something's been up with your folks." "I told you everything was fine," Raymond said angrily. His heart was beating into his throat. He could feel his muscles tensing, and his hands began to tremble. The urge to run, to flee, was overwhelming. "I didn't tell them anything, Raymond. I just asked a few questions about your parents, about your history." "And?" Raymond almost screamed. "And they couldn't tell me much, by law." Raymond shook his head. His lips and throat were dry, and he tried to swallow the dryness away. "That's because it's none of your business," he said. "Maybe not," answered Stiggs. "I'm sorry, Raymond. I know you've been taking care of yourself." "So what?" Raymond spat. "I've been taking care of myself my whole life." Stiggs stood slowly from the log, his arms out in surrender. Raymond took a step back. "You don't know anything about me," he said. He looked at Stiggs, and all he could see were his parents, his teachers, the children's home guardians, the car driving away down the street. Why did Stiggs have to go to social services? Why couldn't he just leave it alone? Raymond bent to gather his things and fumbled with the fishing rod. Stiggs reached out and gripped the sleeve of Raymond's shirt, trying to get him to face him. Raymond jerked away. He overcorrected and fell into the dirt, scrambling to get up. "Come on, kid," Stiggs said, throwing his hands up again. "I'm just trying to help." But Raymond didn't want help. He didn't want anything at all from the old man. He just wanted to get away from this conversation, get away from what was happening right now. He grabbed his fishing pole and tackle box and scrambled up the bank to the road, leaving his 2 fish and Stiggs back at the river. He ran down the stretch of highway until he was around the curve. Then he darted into the woods. He ran until he made it back to the hollow, startling Rosie and Hank from a nap. He paced the length of the camp. How could he have been so careless? He thought of Stiggs at the river. He had just left him standing there. Now the empty feeling in his stomach was for something worse than just hunger. He crawled into the mouth of the hollow and held his knees to his chest. Then he buried his face in the sleeping bag and screamed. He didn't go back to the river the next day or that Monday when school was closed, worried that Stiggs would show up. Instead, he stayed up late and tried his luck at night fishing. He was actually pretty successful at it. He wished that he could go tell Stiggs about his discovery, but he dismissed the thought as quickly as he had it. After school, he stayed in the camp, set his trap, and scavenged the dumpsters. He read, whittled, did his homework, played with Rosie and Hank, and tried to stay busy. After all, he had Harlan and Lexi. He didn't really need Stiggs. He almost convinced himself. Almost.